Okay, welcome in. Let's take a look at the newly released Season 3 development blog that was just released by iRacing's Greg Hill. You can see here May 19th, 2025. Greg Hill. Greg usually does these a few times a year, usually a couple weeks before the current season ends and it clicks over into the next season that's coming up. So just released one here today, only about an hour or so ago. It's going to be the update for what they're working on towards Season 3 and Season 4. And from there on, you can find it on the iRacing page here. And it's under the blog development. So let's kind of just have a quick little blurb here. So first off, they talk quickly about the Indy 500 special event that just happened. And we're just going to skip back quickly through there and move on to the real meat and potatoes here. So the first thing up, they're going to talk about new tracks. Well, tracks in general, but new tracks. But quickly, we'll take a look at the, he's got a mention here about tracks in Season 3. So in Season 3, there's going to be main categories. He's breaking down to main categories. One is all new, which you can see the track just below it. That's an all new track. And then we get to rescanned and remodeled is number 2. And number 3 is refreshed and upgraded. And those are how they're going to categorize the 3 tracks groupings that we're going to look at. And then he's going to note here that category 2 and category 3, he'll list more tracks, but they're not promising that they're all going to come out in Season 3. Some of them might not make it till Season 4. It's kind of a fluid thing that they're working on, and kind of release the ones that they can as they can do it. There's a number of tracks listed here. I want to say maybe 10 to 12 tracks. So if we see half of them Season 3 and another half Season 4, I think a lot of people will probably be generally happy with that. But let's get to the new tracks here to start. First up is The Bend. It's a Australian track that a number of Australians have been asking for years. So that one's going to come to the service in Season 3. So they give us some in-progress features of the track. You can see it looks like the majority of the track layout is in there and the immediate surrounding areas. And they're just kind of working on the, I guess you would call it the infrastructure and the grounds outside of the track itself. So it looks kind of similar to like a VIR type setup where you've got a number of different layouts. You got this cut through here, you got this other cut through here too as well, another cut through here, and multiple layouts back here. Looks like a nice little hilly section there. It'd be interesting. But they make mention that track hosts numerous international racing series, including the Supercar Series, GT World Challenge Australia, TCR, and Superbike, as well as endurance and prototype racing. So a lot of GT racing. No mention of whether open wheel series go there at all. If any of the lower tiered, say like Formula 4 type thing goes there. It looks like it is generally kind of more of a GT type of track layout, but it'll be definitely interesting to see an expansion on the Australian tracks offered on the service. And then again, you get a couple more of the renderings here that they've been working on. And actually they make a note here. A surprising amount of elevation change helps keep the racing action exciting. The iRacing implementation will feature 7 racing configurations, including the full almost 8-kilometer GT circuit, which is the second longest permanent racetrack in the world. So there you go. I mentioned that it had looks like numerous different layouts, and that affirms that there. And you can see definitely elevation change area back here. Potentially something around here, a little hard to tell on that picture, but looks like it should be a fun track. Now we're going to get into the category 2, rescanned and remodeled tracks. So their rescanned and remodeled tracks are tracks that already exist on iRacing. They've been updated for various reasons. It could be repaved, rechanged, something that's being significantly changed in the real world, that they've had enough change that they need to go and rescan the track. So first up is Iowa. Iowa received significant repaving work performed the turns which their team has captured and recreated. This change transforms the driving experience in Iowa. So Iowa, it looks like it's going to be significantly more around the repaving versus infrastructure and so forth. Richmond Raceways next up. Richmond was rescanned, although not due to a repave itself. The same real world pavement exists now as in our original Richmond, However, the facility has undergone a great deal of infrastructure change. We had an opportunity to improve the circuit, so we ultimately remodeled everything, including the driving surface. So even though it wasn't repaved, they rescanned it just to make sure they have all the updates as far as bumps and so forth. Definitely the track has probably changed from when they scanned it, so any kind of new bumps or dips and so forth, that'll show itself up in the new Richmond. Next up, we have Sonoma Raceway. Now, this is a road course that sees IRL action from IndyCars as well as the Fanatec, what do they call it, World GT Challenge or World Challenge series, the GT3, GT4 series. So Sonoma was repaved not long ago. If you follow the Fanatec World Series or World Challenge or GT America, whichever they call it, I think they have the two different series in America. I can't remember exactly what the names were, but they went there about 2 years ago now when they repaved Sonoma. Right after it was repaved, there was a number of issues where the asphalt didn't really have enough time to set, and it was lifting up a couple spots and do repairs. But anyways, it's one of the older tracks on iRacing. They actually make mention of it here. Sonoma, which is one of the first great North American road circuits on iRacing. So there you go. It's artistically one of the oldest tracks on iRacing and a long overdue refresh. So our new Sonoma looks amazing. It's fast rolling hills and drone captured terrain to fully recreate our new 5-layer terrain shader and modern art techniques. So it sounds like they're pretty happy with the new rework of Sonoma. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like. Next up is Worldwide Technology Raceway, otherwise known as Gateway. Oops, right here, Gateway. It was repaved several years ago in preparation for IndyCar's return to the circuit. The track currently features NASCAR, IndyCar, and a variety of racing across its road configurations. But if you've ever looked at the road course on iRacing or tried driving it on iRacing or looked at the maps, it's really not much of a road course, but it does have some lanes there. So that's going to be updated. Charlotte Motor Speedway. This one's kind of interesting. They've worked closely with Charlotte Motor Speedway, with Speedway Motorsports SMI for several years to prototype and test plan changes for the railroad circuit. So what they're saying is they've been working with them where they can take and add features or change, say, chicane or add a chicane here, map a corner, change the elevation, and so forth. And what they can do is put it into iRacing and test those changes to see if it flows and works better. So in that process, it's allowed them to rescan Charlotte, and they're going to update it because in 2018 there was a bunch of new stuff added. They rescanned Charlotte to incorporate last year's changes and updated the driving surface to reflect these changes. So hopefully that bump that was just after pit entry, if you're running the Roval, heading into that final chicane, just kind of on the left hand side, there's a nasty bump. Hopefully that's gone now. I guess assuming it's gone in real life, so we'll have to see how that shapes out once it's on the system. But Charlotte Motor Speedway getting an update. And the last one in the rescanned and remodeled track section, it's going to be North Wilkesboro Speedway. So North Wilkesboro was a track that we were able to recreate historically earlier on, so you can kind of find the backstory of it here. You click on it, but it's a track that definitely needed a long update in iRacing, and it looks like they're finally going to get around to doing it, as they have the renovated and repaired in the real world and added to NASCAR's schedule. So at long last, they'll be adding it to iRacing. So you can see a shot there of North Wilkesboro, and now we're going to get into the refreshed and upgraded tracks, where see some artwork from Talladega. So again, with the refreshed and upgraded is these aren't rescans. These are namely going to be updates to maybe colors of curbing, if they've updated the colors of curbing. If there's new signage around the track, or signage has been removed from around the track, there's new shrubbery, trees, all that kind of that sort of stuff. So in this category, we've got refresh upgraded tracks, are a category of updates that are done best to keep up with, but greatly accelerated these past few years. They're not rescans, as I just mentioned. They're nearly complete rebuilds, where we have recreated all the artwork using tooling and quality standards. Examples of refreshes include Okayama and Road Atlanta, and most recently in season 1 and 2, we refreshed New Hampshire, Bristol, Darlington, Dover, Homestead, Kansas, and Las Vegas. been working on the remainder of the NASCAR calendar and will release as many as possible in the Season 3 build, with the remainder shipping no later than Season 4. So I believe they mentioned this in the blog for last season, that they had a goal of updating all the NASCAR stuff. I think it was before the end of 2025. So it looks like they're working hard, pushing forward to try and get to the end of that. But example of some refresh tracks that they're currently working on is Circuit of the Americas, which race in the league with a number of Texas drivers, and they've been asking for an update for COTA for a long time, as it's been repaved. Some of the curbing's been changed, signage, so forth. So it'd be nice to see an update there. And then we have Darlington, Daytona, Indianapolis. That's going to be the road course and the oval. Lime Rock Park. I'm not really sure what they need to update Lime Rock Park, as it's not that old. But anyways, it's getting a art update. Phoenix, Texas, and they say more, but I assume more ones they haven't really even started on. It's probably tracks that they're in the middle of working on. But here's Lime Rock. You see the updated foliage, where you see this bit of shrubbery off to the left-hand side here. A little update on the grass, the trees. We're thrilled to the completion of refresh this critical category of racetracks. Our teams have already moved on to future refreshes. So, and I'm just going to mention about working on the tracks, shutting up the tracks. So here we're going to get into the cars. Okay, so let's look at the first car here. Is the Ferrari 296 Challenge car. So they got some notes here about it. 700 horsepower, which is definitely a fair bit more than the GT3 machinery. I think a lot of them are between 500 and 600 horsepower, depending on BOP. And then you got some of the specifics here that make it different than, say, the GT3 variant. So it's got the same 3-liter V6 twin turbo. Revs out to 8,500. I can't remember off the top of my head what the GT3 variant revs to. May not be quite as high, but 7-speed gearbox, 4 full-wheel brake-by-wire system. All enormous, they say. Carbon ceramic brake disc, 2-stage TC, electronically controlled diff, power steering. Obviously the other GT3 car has power steering too as well. Spoke tires. They make a note here. This is a genuinely unique car, close to 0 parts crossover from it in the GT3. So interesting. The sound on the 296 is phenomenal, and in a example of depth that a binaural format can achieve, the format has depth, to make it a solid sounding onboard, along with great backfire, turbo, and blow-off valves. The 296 Challenge car will be raced in our Ferrari 296 Challenge series, which will be retooled to feature this car rather than the 296 GT3 car. This is raced this D level, so it'll be interesting to see. They're going to give drivers in the fixed Ferrari series a series that's already chaotic at the best of times, even more power to unleash on tracks. We'll be interested to see how that works out. But yeah, 296, the first car that comes into the season, into next season. So next up, a car that the Oval guys have been asking it for a long time, Gen 4 Cup Car update. It's been completed and it's ready for release. They'll be releasing 2 packages, the 2003 Chevy Monte Carlo and the 2003 Ford Taurus. Each package is going to have distinct bodies, stock car and speedway stock car. During this era of cup racing, the bodies were dramatically different in shape. This presented a new challenge for our architecture. While we already have many cars with track-specific variants, the 03 variants are so unique that we could not use a singular paint template. It had to split each variant into its own unique template. This required engineering and UI support. It was more work than one might imagine. The end result was worth it and pushed us to improve functionality and how we present similar cars in the UI going forward. Painters will be able to select a specific track type they'd like to view in our UI paint kit. So it actually sounds like a bit of a pain in the ass for people in the paint side of things, where they're going to have to do 2 different versions of the paint for the same car, a super speedway paint and a stock car paint. So it'll be interesting to kind of give you a little quick glimpse here of there. You see the drop down menu where you'll be able to select a stock car or the speedway template. So that's the Gen 4 Cup car. And then the last one is the Dallara IR18. otherwise known as the IndyCar. So IndyCar is coming back recently, well, recent seasons after being gone. And it looks like iRacing is really pushing to renew and update the IndyCar stuff to kind of keep it more relevant and current. I'm not sure if that was part of the deal of it coming back. But anyways, IndyCar is getting an update. One of our longest standing partners was thrilled to offer a comprehensive update to the iRacing that brings up the spec with the 2025 real world iteration. This project was completed in collaboration with Dallara, IndyCar, and real world IndyCar drivers. Together, we have rebuilt the physics using our latest tools, processes, and quality standards. The improved systems include fundamental tire itself, aero modeling, and the addition of a wet tire. So IndyCar will finally be able to go rain racing. Additional details and changes are included. They've changed the setup range. Limits have been more accurately tailored to each track type. Barge board options have been added to both the road course and short oval configuration, as well as the large oval configuration. And all tire types have been updated, resulting in improvements to driving feel and feedback and more accurate tire conditioning. They go on to say, overall, the changes will result in a positive change for realism. One detail we've deferred over the future is the new hybrid system. So if you were looking forward to the new hybrid system coming on the update, which comes into play, this isn't going to happen, as it was debuted midway through last season, and it doesn't look like they had enough time to really implement it into it. To be honest with you, from what I've read, I haven't been following IndyCar that much. From what I've read, I don't know if the hybrid system is actually going to stay around all that long. It doesn't seem to be going over real well with a lot of the racers in the IndyCar side of things. So, and then they go on here to say the iRacing has been updated visually to match the current year, including all new Cosworth steering wheel. So a new updated steering wheel, that's nice. And the road course specific aero screen. Additionally, we sent our sound team to the road, capture the vehicle using our latest and greatest hardware and techniques, and our new sound model is phenomenal. You can now hear the nuanced elements of the powertrain, and the engine makes a cool anti-lag sound, which in the words of our sound design engineer Aussie Greg, sounds like a Chewbacca gurgle. This happens mostly with partial throttle between 6,000 and 8,000 RPM, and it's extremely audible out of the exhaust from external views. Okay, let's click on this and see what we hear. I think this is a little test of their audio, their new audio, so let's have a listen. Okay, so you can really hear the gurgle there as the engine revs up and down between the 6,000 and 8,000 range at the mention. So that's that. What do they got here? Our Gen 7 NASCAR Cup car has undergone a significant overhaul. Features our latest release-ready tire, so new updated tire to the Cup cars. First debuted on the GTP and improved aerodynamics that bring the car closer to how teams now have the cars operating. Okay, so it looks like they're updating the tire just like they did to the GTP cars last season, so that'll be interesting to see how it works on the Cup side of things. They've got teams have made performance advancements over the last few years. We've integrated similar increases in performance. This updated tire is a significant change. We refined many characteristics of the tires, including conditioning, limit feedback, slide recovery on the limit, and finally we introduced the new Gen 7 specific CFD based drafting model that will bring the driving dynamics and traffic closer to how real cars behave. This work was done in partnership with NASCAR and has taken the realism of these cars to the next level, so that'll be interesting to see, because right now drafting in the Cup cars is it's a little cumbersome. If you lose that draft, you're not getting it back. You need to find a massive pack to get caught back up to the car's head. So we'll see how that changes, see how the side draft is affected, but updated tire for the Cup cars coming out this season. And then they go into, this is probably on the road side, this is probably the biggest meat and potatoes here, is updated GT3 tires. All of this here is in regards to the GT3 tires. So it's been a bone of contention for racers for years over which sim has the best tires, which sim reacts the best as far as GT3 cars. It's been, has ACC been the best? Has R Factor been the best? Or is it iRacing? Blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, I don't think any of them ever hit 100% as far as unanimous voting from GT drivers across the board. But large blurb here. So they started with the completely new tires. So they started with the dry and wet tires, reworking them. So they've both used iRacing's newest physics model, which debuted with the GTPs, and developed the GT3 specific tire models. This is a specific tire just for GT3s, unlike the NASCAR tire they mentioned above, which looks like it's going to be a similar tire to the GTP model, as they made mention of that. So they first utilized custom software and tooling to simulate a vast set of tire constructions and models at faster than real-time speeds. These models were thoroughly tested and iterated by our vehicle dynamicists and driving specialists in collaboration with external professional drivers who race the same cars in real life. Many things have been improved, culminating in tires that behave more like those in the real world. I wish they'd actually mentioned what drivers they worked with so we could kind of see if their input kind of worked better with a specific car that maybe they drove, or if they found a driver for each one of the models of cars and so forth. Where if, say, maybe they had 3 guys that drove Ferraris, well, what they're relaying is that information relay more to how the Ferrari relax on the tires versus, say, maybe the Acura or the Porsche. But anyways, they don't mention it. They've also reworked the aerodynamics on, it says, the majority of the cars in GT3 class. I'm assuming with the more recent NSX and the McLaren 720 that they've probably already got these aerodynamics updated on those cars. It's probably more for the older cars, but they've upgraded the aerodynamics on the majority of the GT3 class using computational fluid dynamics modeling, and they've updated the ride height maps beyond roll sensitivities and the effect of changing rear wing settings. After tires, aerodynamics has the greatest impact on in-car experience. We put a lot of effort into capturing both aerodynamic and performance nuances that impact subject and feel. So that'll be interesting to see. You read through the rest here, and it basically kind of reiterates a lot of it, where you're going to have to be a little more cautious on outlaps, get the tires up to temp, as they mentioned here. Tire temps are going to be lower, and it's going to actually take a couple more laps to get them up into prime temperature zone. So it actually says the 4th or 5th time lapse. So 2-lap qualifying, even at the end of the 2nd lap of qualifying, your tires aren't going to be up into optimal temperatures there. So we might actually see quicker laps during the race than we do in qualifying. They made a note up here too as well that you should have better slide recovery. So loss of grip used to be, once the back end started to go on a car, there seemed to be no catching it for the most part, a lot of the spins. So apparently with this new tire and aerodynamics update, it's supposed to be a little easier to catch the car. But they also go on to make a note too as well that right down here, it's also possible to conserve tires and then have a chance to push for later laps in the stint. The fuel level is low, and also expect to change tires each fuel tank is added. So endurance racing, where a lot of the times you're able to double and triple stint tires, looks like that is officially going to be a thing of the past, although they've promised that too as well before, and drivers were still able to double and triple stint tires. So be interesting to see if it's actually implemented this time and becomes a factor. To assist with dynamic ride height control, more compliant tires, they've added bump rubbers, ability to adjust their static gaps to the cars not previously have in this garage setup option. So it'd be interesting that as far as ride height, it's just gonna be like a ride height adjustment, I guess. The updated aerodynamics have sweet spots and ride height from what you're used to. Some setup work will be needed to ensure you are extracting the maximum performance from each car's dynamic platform. So interesting. So it's not going to be more or less just slam it to the ground as low as you can, as it has in the past within the regulations, and throw it on track. You're going to actually have to try and find a sweet spot, I guess, depending on the aero package you're running. So that'll be interesting to see. Probably a bit of a hair pulling experiment for the setup shops, but that's why you pay them. Then they got you may notice the cars behave differently in small and large slides, partially due to the updated aerodynamic yaw modeling. Different side view body shapes provide varying degrees of stabilizing force. Similarly, different complete aerodynamic packages perform better or worse when it comes to downforce and aerodynamic balance. Our updated aerodynamic modeling does a better job at capturing this nuance. So interesting. So some cars may be able to capture a slide better than others, depending on if it's a high-speed corner or low-speed corner. That'll be interesting to see. Cars that are maybe a little more aerodynamically dependent on their grip versus mechanically dependent on grip, per se. Then we got another step closer to reality is the addition of the front splitter height as a determining factor in passing technical inspection. The front splitter is at its lowest point, the front ride height at the axle of the center line, and the rear ride height must all be above 50 millimeters. Most cars will need to run higher ride heights. So interesting. So again, you're in correlation with the bump stops here and the aero setup, you're not going to just default to slamming the car as low as you can on the ride height, throwing it on track, and that should be the optimal setup. Now the last thing here is, well, they make mention the current setups are going to be obsolete, so anything you've been working on now isn't going to work going forward. But BOP has been updated, not include any changes to mass or engine power levels, only aerodynamic downforce and drag have been adjusted. So no power level decreases, no weight, just how the aerodynamics work as far as BOP coming up for next season. So to sum things up, with our now more realistic GT3 cars and iRacing, drive far better at the limit, and if you go over the limit, the driving experience is more accurate and enjoyable. We can't wait to share this work with you all in a few weeks. We're incredibly proud of the results, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and now we're going to get into some of the updates for the existing cars too as well. So you can see here in the screenshot, Lotus 79 is getting rain tires, and that's featured in here, the Season 3 release rain tires for the Lotus 79 and Super Formula 2 as well. So see if that draws any more participation in Super Formulas. It's a tough car to drive, and throwing it on rain tires, I don't know how much more fun that's going to make driving that car, but it's getting updated rain tires. The F4 has received a full dry and wet tire rework, so that'll be interesting to see. F4 is probably one of the most popular, if not most popular, open wheel series on iRacing. So I know the wet tire model was a little rubbish in my mind in the F4, so it'll be interesting to see how they drive with the rework. I'm not sure what they're doing as far as full dry. Are they taking a little grip away or adding some grip on it? But not really much in the way of details here on that. But the the BMW M4 G82 GT4, so the updated GT4 BMW we got a couple seasons back, is getting the new Evo version that they've been racing this year. You don't need to do anything for it. It's just going to automatically update. So no car to buy, no purchase needed or required on that one. They've updated the steering wheel in the BMW M4 Hybrid to reflect the current wheel and dash panel used. So you can actually see that there. There's the new BMW wheel. And then last season, they had talked about reworking the hybrid system on the GTPs. It's not coming out this season. They're still going to be working on it. That's basically mentioned here, and they're just asking for your patience for it. So still no proper working hybrid, which is definitely a disappointment. On the GT side of things, we're not really getting much other than the Ferrari Challenge, which, as I mentioned, it's a bit of a carnage series at best. So anybody that really races in IMSA in a fixed Fanatec or SimiCube VRS, or sorry, SimiCube Sprint Series, they weren't racing in a fixed Ferrari all that often anyways. But so not much update as far as that there. So next up is a little tidbit here on VR racing. So they've kind of reworked a few things for VR users, and it's something they've been had for many years. I mentioned here their collaboration with the Oculus in the past, and how they've been working together to kind of improve the VR system there. So you can kind of see a little bit of a screenshot there, and they mentioned the rendering example. Note the clarity difference between the center and the periphery. This will be configurable, so I guess you're going to be able to configure how you want it to lay out as far as the the clarity from center to outside. So a little blurb there. Next, we're going to get into the rain update. So they've been working a little more on rain as far as visuals on it. We spent a significant time working on a rain system. Rain visuals more in line with actual wetness represented in the dynamic track physics system. There's been a subtle divergence over the past couple of seasons that has made it more difficult than it should be to visually discern the level of track wetness. Now, I've been talking amongst this with a number of guys that I race with regularly. When they first brought out the rain, it was great. You could see the puddles, assuming you had the, what do they call it? SSR, I think it is. On high level, you could see the puddles, you could see where the dry line was, you could see the reflection from the puddles, and then for some reason, a couple updates later, they took all that away, and you couldn't really see much of anything from where the dry line was, even depending on some corners where the puddles were. All of a sudden, you'd be driving, then next thing you know, you can audibly hear the puddle splashing or the sliding of it, but you couldn't really see anything. So they're working on updating that. They mentioned here our team has done a phenomenal job retuning these systems and has brought things back in tip-top shape. Now, with the surface wetness appropriately tuned, the same team has turned their attention to accomplishing a similar goal with the spray generated from the tires and cars. So that's been another bone of contention for a while, that where the track could be virtually dry, but it's still throwing quite a bit of spray up off the back of the car, which wasn't realistic. So it looks like they're going to finally start working on that. I don't suspect that's going to be in season 3 though. It says note that it's TBD whether or not this will make it for season 3. So there you go. I wouldn't bank on seeing the spray corrected for season 3, but it looks like the rain itself updating as far as how it looks in the puddles and reflections. Looks like that should be updated, which is a much needed improvement. So now we're going to get into a couple mentions of hardware. They're adding some more 360 hertz support for multiple wheelbases. So just keep a note of that. If you're currently using a wheelbase that doesn't offer 360 hertz feedback right now, that update may be coming to you very soon. Then we get into the ongoing feature department. I know this was a bit of a letdown myself as I read through. We've been promised a new UI forever. They've been teasing it, and it's not coming season 3. We thought it was going to be coming season 3, but it's not. You can scroll through and read here. It's more or less seems like it's going to be something that's going to come with the new graphics engine, and it'll be in conjunction with that. They make mention of the graphics engine a little further down. We'll get to that in a moment, but new sim UI, sizable group grouping on it, which is an all new modern framework. The project's been underway for a couple of years now, so there you go. So it's been promised for a long time. It's hard to convey how massive the project is to add the new UI to a matured product with decades of legacy code. So there you go. There's the excuses there. It's still being worked on, but like I said, it's probably not going to come with the new rendering engine. But mentioning rendering engine, here we go here. This project's going tremendously well, and every day the team reaches a new milestone or a significant achievement that brings company-wide excitement. To catch newcomers up, we're building an all-new rendering engine, graphics engine. This engine will transform the look and performance of iRacing, features a GPU-driven architecture and minimal CPU overhead. So everybody that's been running the latest and greatest hardware and just taking a look at your GPU, just kind of sitting there twiddling its thumbs, waiting to do something. They're saying that on the new engine, graphics engine they're working on, it should be much better at utilizing that top-end hardware that you've been itching and begging for iRacing to utilize a little better. So now we get into last quarter. We shared progress with our new shadow system that will transfer the sim's overall appearance. This week we reached another milestone, the integration of our dynamic track system into the renderer. This project is far enough along that it will be a feature of our next town hall, an employee-only gathering where project teams share the work of the entire company. So I don't really say much more other than that, but a little clip here of the rain. You can see distinctly the dry line through there now. And you can see the spray coming up to the back of the LMP2 there. Quite a bit of spray as it's off the wet, and finally no spray coming off the back of the McLaren there. It's clearly in the dry. Quick talk about physics. This is again in the section that they're working on. So we're focused on improving physics and iRacing on a continual basis. You'll see these improvements in every single build, whether it's a new car using new processes or an existing car. And then they mentioned GTP, IndyCar, NASCAR, GT3, which we mentioned we're all being touched a little in this new season coming up. And then while balancing these continuous improvements, we have team focused on longer term, more fundamental improvements with the current focus on force feedback, improved peripheral support, higher physics rates, and the next generation of our tire model. So recently adjustments have been made to the architecture of the next generation tire that will facilitate quicker, more collaborative development. Our physics teams has grown substantially, and this change will allow us to better capitalize on the opportunity and immense talent this growth represents. So basically just saying they're hoping to continue moving forward with that. So quick blurb on the career mode. Took a momentary side quest from our career mode project to ensure we have some core systems and AI systems in place. So they're just basically saying they're back on working in the career mode. Again, that's something that's been promised for probably about as long as the new UI. So I wouldn't hold your breath on seeing that before a new graphics engine too as well. Then a couple of miscellaneous notes, nothing really of any real merit there, any meat. And then a quick future track car content. Our team is already deep in development of our September car track releases as well as December. Track team is currently pushing in Mexico City, and quite a substantial effort. Oh, wow, no, so there we go. Going to be quite a substantial effort that we're done. We're going to look at drive crate. We've updated our Miami data now. The Grand Prix has made it to the May race build up and are working through transforming the facility and more accurately represent race day. We also have a handful of city tracks in the pipeline, so interesting. So if you take a think of what city tracks could be the pipeline, there's also Vegas in the USA side. Now, if you want to actually consider, I guess technically you consider some of the Middle East tracks, city type tracks. So could we be seeing some of them coming in the future? We'll have to wait and see. Then just kind of a little blurb here talking about the amount of people that they have working on it. And then you have a number of little shots that we saw all moving through. So that's the blog update. If you're hoping for new car content in the top 3 or 4 classes in the sports car side of things, you're not going to see much of anything. Just the Ferrari 296, but updated GT3 tires and arrows. So basically everybody's going to have to learn to drive the GT3 cars again. Ferrari 296 coming. Gen 4 Cup car updates, new tires for the Gen 7 Cup car, new IndyCar rework. So a lot of exciting stuff on that front. One new road course, the Bend, a bunch of updated NASCAR tracks, updated Sonoma, and then some physics changes here and there. But I kind of wish we had a little more updated car content. It would have been nice to get some of the IMSA cars we don't have. The Aston Martin GT3, the Valkyrie hypercar, even if they were able to get, say, maybe the Alpine or Lamborghini in the LMDH and GTP fields. Updated GT4 content, as majority of the GT4 cars are outdated, the BMW and the Mercedes basically being the only two up-to-date GT4 cars, and there's still a number of cars that are in GT4 that we don't have. The Aston's outdated, the Porsche is outdated, the McLaren is outdated. We don't have the Toyota. There is a Nissan that doesn't race in IMSA though, so it'd be nice if we can get those updated cars too, as well as some more of the TCR content. So hopefully that's stuff they're working for season 4. I guess that would be towards the September time would be when season 4 is coming out, and we have that stuff to look forward to. There was a quick little mention here towards the end. Let me see if I can try and find it. I did see it where it mentioned that. Here we go. The car team is working on many interesting projects, including exciting additions to GT3, GT4, and GTP. So one can only assume that because they use GTP, potentially the Lamborghini or Valkyrie on that end. GT4, as I just mentioned, hopefully that's updating the cars. And GT3, well, the only ones missing are the Aston and the Lexus, which is going to be replaced next year by the new updated Aston. But there is some updated cars that they don't have in there, like the Lamborghini is on its Evo 2 version, I want to say. There's an Evo update for the M3 too as well, or sorry, the M4 GT3 as well, so maybe we'll see that. But close to, there's been some fits and starts, but we're so close to having the data we need to enhance our extended dirt road car offering. So potential new jumpy trucks or IRX cars, our high performance open wheelers will see an exciting addition in the near future that allow us to represent a new tier of real world competition better. We're just scratching the surface here. There will be more to come down the road. So I'll be interested to see what real world or what open wheeler in the real world we're talking about. Could it be Indy Lights? Was this renewed, seems aggressive renewed partnership with IndyCar? Or could it be, say, Formula 2 cars? I'll have to wait and see, but that's basically it for the blog. Thanks for tuning in, and we've only got a couple more weeks to see all this new content in action. We'll see you then on track.